this era where everyone uses long-range magic, he chose to study the least popular combat magic. Everyone thought he was crazy. As a genius student, no one expected him to make such a choice. But only he knew. In 10 years the evil god Vidric would appear and overturn everything. All ranged attack spells would be useless against it. Only close combat magic could deal real damage to it. Therefore he had to master close combat magic. Before all this, he was the strongest mage on the continent. He led many mages in repelling monster invasions. Until the appearance of the evil god Vidric. Only then did they realize how small they were. No matter how powerful their combined magic was, or how everyone attacked together, none of their ranged spells had any effect on it. In the face of the evil god's overwhelming power, they were utterly defeated. In the end humanity faced destruction. And even as the evil god mocked them, the man struck with all his remaining strength. To his surprise, this attack actually worked. He quickly realized, close combat magic could deal substantial damage to it. But sadly, he had not chosen the path of close combat magic back then. Just as the evil god was about to deliver a fatal blow, the crystal on his chest suddenly emitted a blue glow. It was the necklace the principal had gifted him. The necklace contained the power of the soul of time, allowing its wearer to travel back in time. Though he once thought he didn't need it, the principal believed it would prove useful one day. Now was the perfect time to use it. As the blue light enveloped him, he opened his eyes again, and realized he had returned to 10 years ago. Looking at familiar faces and places, he silently made a decision. This time he would defeat the evil god Vidric. Then he noticed, he was back on the day of the Academy's mastery ceremony. In no time, it was his turn to step up for the ceremony. People around him began to murmur. Which path would this genius student choose? After all, he had talent in every branch of magic. Magic had different paths. For those who wished to master it, people must choose a fixed path. This leads to it being extremely difficult to learn magic from different paths. It's like you can't worship two gods at the same time. At that moment a voice called out, Setna Cromwell, please choose your magic path. Normally, everyone's first choice would be ranged magic. You conjure elements with magic, and aim them at your enemy. Since it's a long-range attack, it offers a high level of safety, and area attacks can wipe out all enemies at once. He once became the strongest ranged mage in the world. But unfortunately, these ranged spells had no effect on the evil god. Then he slowly walked towards the close combat magic area. Everyone was shocked. This guy had just said this morning that he'd choose ranged magic. Even the teacher couldn't help but advise him kindly. This path focuses on physical enhancement, only allowing close range attacks. This path has long been abandoned. Are you going to give up your future? Indeed, this magic path offers little hope for mages. But he knew, it was the only way to defeat the evil god Vidric. Amid the shocked gazes of everyone, he resolutely chose close combat magic. With the mark engraved on the back of his hand, he became a close combat mage. He originally planned to entrust all his ranged magic skills to Cromwell, so he could become the mentor of the strongest mage, and gain the highest honor. But the man ruined everything. However, Cromwell seemed indifferent. After all, it wouldn't matter in 10 years, because the evil god Vidric would bring destruction to the world. Right now the most important thing was to master close combat magic before the evil god appears. The scene shifts. He was searching for the close combat magic classroom, because he chose the least popular magic path. No one wanted to pay him any attention. Then he suddenly remembered, there was a map of the entire academy in the courtyard. So he headed towards the courtyard. Just then, a voice caught his attention. He saw a girl using close combat magic in a fight. It started because a group of students had stolen her precious brooch. The brooch was a high-level item that could store magic power. They believed they needed it more than she did. The man noticed. The three were all students from the ranged magic department. The blonde boy scoffed at her. Are you trying to challenge us with the weakest close combat magic? As he spoke, he suddenly hurled several fireballs at her. They flew straight towards the girl. Although she reacted quickly, enhancing her physical abilities with close combat magic, the wide area of the ranged magic made it hard to dodge everything. She then began to gather her magic power, determined to retrieve her precious brooch. The man immediately realized, she was using a mana blade from close combat magic, but its form seemed a bit unstable. At that moment, the blonde boy launched a sudden attack. The girl barely raised her sword to block, but the powerful strike sent her flying. It's so pathetic, he sneered. No matter how hard you try, you'll never reach the level of us ranged mages. Then countless fireballs flew straight towards the girl. In this critical moment, the man suddenly appeared and saved her. "Excuse me," he said. "Do you know where the close combat magic department is? I need to get there." The crowd around them realized. This was the genius Cromwell. But he had chosen close combat magic. "Finally we have a chance to beat him up," someone muttered. The man spoke quietly. "Yes, close combat magic is weak. But it depends on how you use it. The strength of a magic path doesn't always decide the outcome of a fight." At that moment, the blonde boy attacked Cromwell first. But Cromwell quickly reacted. He concentrated his mana in his legs, swiftly dodging the incoming fire magic. He was already thinking of testing more magic techniques. He then asked the blonde boy, "Is fire magic the only thing you know how to use?" Hearing this, the blonde boy sent multiple fireballs towards the man again. But he easily dodged them all. Just as the blonde boy was about to launch a powerful strike, Cromwell used his mana blade to cut it down instantly. Seeing this, everyone was utterly shocked. Did he just cut through magic? Of course. In a magic duel, the most skilled wins. Though he didn't possess great magical power, he had become the strongest mage in the world. All because of his precise mana control. The blonde boy tried to launch a sneak attack. But Cromwell appeared in front of him in an instant. He concentrated mana into his fist, and delivered a heavy blow to the blonde boy. He knocked him down instantly. It seems that even close combat magic can still be effective within its range. At the same time, the man extended his hand to take back the brooch. He then handed it back to the girl. The girl expressed her gratitude. The two then started chatting. During the conversation they introduced themselves. The girl's name was Lila Rosewell. She had long admired his reputation. After all, he was known as a genius in the academy. But she was curious. Why did he choose close combat magic? Though he wanted to say it was to defeat the evil god, he doubted anyone would believe him now. So he dropped the idea. Instead of that, "Could you help me find the close combat magic department?" The scene shifts. Lila guided him through the academy. They walked slowly towards the edge of the school. Even he was surprised. The close combat magic department was located at the very outskirts. It really wasn't favored by anyone. Lila was curious. How did he create the mana blade? It depends on controlling mana precisely. Close combat magic can be adapted to many situations. If mastered, it's the key to defeating the evil god. And right now there's one huge advantage. The principal once mastered 2 paths of magic. On his right hand was the emblem of summoning magic. But the emblem on his left hand was something he had never seen before. The principal had mentioned that he would pass on the second magic path to him one day. But after the evil god appeared, the principal mysteriously passed away. Perhaps the evil god sensed the danger of the second magic path and secretly killed him. If he could master it, he could change the fate of destruction brought by the evil god. However, the biggest problem now is, how could he earn the principal's approval in the present? A moment later, they finally arrived at the close combat magic department. However, the teacher in front of them seemed unwelcoming. Choosing close combat magic meant they were considered the weakest students in the academy. But the man had a different opinion. "Even you as a close combat magic teacher, do you not believe in its potential?" He believed that close combat magic had limitless potential for the future. Hearing this, the teacher was left speechless. "If you're so confident, then prove your strength." Inside the room, students were training with close combat magic. But no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't break the stone in front of them. It was a test to determine rankings. The stone had a crystal embedded inside it. Testers needed to extract it within a set time, or they would face punishment. More than an hour had passed, yet no one had managed to break the stone. The stone was incredibly tough. None of the students knew what to do. The teacher brought the man to one of the stones. "Now show me the potential of close combat magic. You only have 10 minutes. Hearing this, Lila immediately protested, feeling it was unfair. But the man signaled her not to worry. He calmly stepped in front of the boulder. "This will only take me 10 seconds to break." Hearing this, the teacher smirked. "Even I need 30 minutes to break it. If you say 10 seconds, then get on with it. Let me show you right now." He then slowly formed a mana blade. To earn the principal's approval, he needed to become the strongest in the close combat magic department. In the next moment, he launched a powerful strike at the boulder. This black steel boulder would normally take the teacher 30 minutes to break. Could he be stronger than the teacher? As he swung his sword, The boulder appeared untouched. Seeing this, the teacher smirked. Now you'll face punishment. But suddenly the boulder shattered into pieces. The teacher was stunned. Did you see that? I only needed 10 seconds. Everyone looked on in disbelief. Is he stronger than the teacher? But the teacher refused to acknowledge it. It's impossible to break this stone in less than 10 minutes. The man smirked back. Does this stone really need 10 minutes? Maybe you shouldn't be teaching then. Just then, a voice interrupted their argument. Zachary, it seems you're bullying students again. The speaker was none other than the head instructor of the Close Combat Department. MN Bionel. He confirmed that the man's result was legitimate. He didn't use any tricks at all. He simply sensed the weakest spot of the boulder with mana. And you as a teacher, you couldn't even see that? He then signaled to the students. Now I will demonstrate with Zachary how to use magic for defense. In the next second, Bionel immediately entered a combat stance. If you trained regularly, you wouldn't die in a situation like this. He then swung with all his might, sending Zachary flying several meters away. Even the man was surprised that he managed to break through the teacher's magical defense. Who is this guy? Bionel was clearly pleased with the man's performance. Since you've joined the Close Combat Department, then work hard to improve yourself. At this moment the man shared his inner thoughts. Although he chose the most underestimated close combat magic, he would use its strengths to become the best in the entire grade. Hearing this, Bionel became interested. Your spirit is impressive. If you want to learn magic, come find me. I thought we had already chosen our representative for the tournament, but it looks like an unexpected dark horse has appeared. The scene shifts. He stood before the crowd introducing himself. My name is Bionel, and I am the head instructor of the Close Combat Magic Department. Next, I will be selecting our representative for the exchange tournament. The exchange tournament is an event where the 8 magic departments compete for honor and prestige. Each department chooses one representative, and the winner is decided through battles. Before his return, he won the tournament as the representative of the ranged magic department, earning the principal's recognition. Now he had to become the representative for close combat magic. But he noticed he wasn't the only one who had broken the boulder. Bionel explained, this guy broke the boulder before you arrived, and he did it with his fist. The man noticed a student crouched nearby. Drago Creed, so you are the famous genius Cromwell? If you have talent in all paths, why did you choose close combat magic? The man explained, because mastering close combat magic is crucial for me. But Drago looked down on his frail appearance. After all, his family had specialized in close combat magic for generations. He had spent 17 years training his body for it. Drago suddenly threw a powerful punch at the man. The force of it even knocked back the people nearby. Defeat me, and you can be the representative for the tournament. The man suddenly remembered. Before his return, Drago had competed in the exchange tournament. He was the only talented student in the close combat magic department. After a moment of thought, the man accepted his challenge for a duel. At that moment, Bionel interrupted their conversation. He announced that the duel would take place in 1 week. After giving his instructions, Drago slowly left the scene. The crowd began to murmur. They were all speculating whether Cromwell could win. A curious Lila asked the man, "You're definitely going to win, right?" But he shook his head. Against a well-trained Drago, my current strength isn't enough to match him. But I have a good plan. Scene shifts. They arrived at an ancient tree. It was a secret training spot known only to the man. Here, he would become 3 times stronger. The ancient tree emitted a soft green glow. It seems to have earned its approval once again. It was the blessing of the sacred tree. Those blessed by the sacred tree could recover mana. He had found this tree before his return, and as long as he stayed here, he didn't have to worry about running out of mana. He could also train his body to the limit. The scene shifts again. Inside the close combat training room, Drago was intensely training his body. Bionel initially thought he was going to break all the weights, but surprisingly, he was only using them for resistance training. Seeing this, Lila, who was secretly watching, was shocked. If anyone gets hit by him, the consequences would be devastating. She quickly rushed to inform the man. Meanwhile, Cromwell was sitting under the ancient tree, reading a book about martial arts. At that moment, Lila suddenly appeared before him. Now is not the time to relax. Drago is training with 5 huge boulders on his back. But the man calmly reassured her. Don't worry, this is part of my plan. He then focused his mana into his head, quickly flipping through the book in his hands. Physical enhancement actually involves using magic to strengthen and control the mind. When you want to increase leg strength. When you want to increase leg strength, just focus your mana on your legs. If you want to enhance your arm strength, simply concentrate mana in your arms. And if you want to boost your memory, focus the mana in your head. In just a short time, he had flipped through all the books. Once all the techniques are in your mind, all you need is practice. In the next moment, he quickly demonstrated martial arts moves, along with agility and sword techniques. Lila was shocked by his learning method. But this is far from enough. Suddenly the man collapsed onto the ground. The movements had put a heavy strain on his muscles. But it was all part of his plan. Next, I'll just focus my mana on healing. In no time, his body recovered completely. Lila tried to persuade him to find another way. But he knew, to face Drago who had trained his body for decades, this was the fastest way to improve himself. Over the next week, he repeated this process thousands of times. It reminded him of his childhood. He had always pushed himself, always striving to get stronger. After all, to get stronger, a few minor injuries were nothing. In the following days, Lila trained alongside Cromwell. Gradually she realized, even though everyone said he was a genius, he actually worked harder than anyone else. Time quickly passed and the duel day arrived. It seems you didn't choose to run away. Of course, I am aiming to be the representative of the close combat magic department. At that moment, Lionel gave the signal to start. Cromwell immediately launched his attack.